National Judicial Council (NJC) has issued 7 days ultimatum to the suspended Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onoge, and the acting CJN, Justice Tanko Muhammad, to respond to the letter of query given to them. The CJN met on Tuesday to deliberate on the suspension of Onoge and his replacement by Muhammad. Onoge was asked to respond to the allegation leveled against him, especially why he failed to declare his assets as stipulated by the law. The acting CJ Muhammad was also asked to explain why he allowed himself to be sworn in by President Muhammadu Buhari without the recommendation of the council as stipulated by the constitution. If the 2 judges are punished with dismissal, the third most senior Supreme Court judge, Justice Olabode Rose of Lagos, will replace them. Suspended Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onoge, has dragged the federal government before the Court of Appeal, challenging his suspension. The appeal call was filed on Monday by his lawyer Wole Olanipekun son, Adegboyega Awomolo, and Kanagabi James Onoja. Onoge, who was suspended by President Muhammadu Buhari following an expatriate order issued by the Code of Conduct Tribunal last week, questioned the power of the CCT to do so. The suspended CJN based his appeal on the foreground, adding that he was not given a fair hearing by the CCT before the order to swear in Justice Tanko Muhammad was given. Some Nigerians have taken protests to United States Embassy to register their grievances over the interference of the country in the nation's domestic affairs. The massive crowd drawn from various groups and organizations threaten that the next time they'll be forced to shut down the embassy if that is what it requires to take back the country. The protest letter was delivered at the rally at the Embassy of the United States of America on behalf of the concerned citizen. Recall that United States had last week condemned the suspension of the embattled Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onoge, over the issue bordering on corruption. Speaking at the rally, Princess Ajibola urged the country to support Nigerian government war against corruption.
We all gather here to show unconditional support to a man of great courage and high integrity. A man that has proved to the world that it is indeed for the good of the country in the discharge of his duties as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The recent happenings in the country with regards to the judicial arm of government has caused Nigeria untold embarrassment, especially with the admittance of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onoge, that he forgot to declare some aspects of his assets as mandated by law. It is quite worrisome for the #1 law officer in the country to act in such a manner. The implication of this is that the hopes of the common man on the street have been dashed because the judiciary, which is supposed to be the hope of the masses, has indeed turned to the nemesis of the masses. The rot in the judicial system is such that it will take the grace of God for sanity to return to the judiciary in Nigeria. The move of President Muhammadu Buhari is just, moral, constitutional, and in the overall interest of the generality of Nigerians. But they are still crying wolf. They are still crying wolf. Why are they still crying wolf? Even when no wolf actually exists. Why are they still crying wolf? Because of their own selfish reasons. They are saying President Muhammadu Buhari suspended the Chief Justice because he is not a northerner. Some also say it is because he's not a Muslim. But Nigerians say it is because he betrayed the trust of the public bestowed on him by failing to follow a simple constitutional procedure.
Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has declared that Nigeria won't survive another 4 years under President Muhammadu Buhari. Wike made the claim while stating that another 4 years under Buhari will mean countless deaths, excessive suffering. He described Buhari-led administration as a directionless and dictatorial governance. The governor spoke during the PDP rally in Gokana local government area of the state. He urged Nigeria to vote PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar if they want to revive the country's ailing economy.
The director of the Department of Weights and Measures, Mohammed Sidi, says the department have the capacity to generate 5 billion naira annually. Weights and Measures, a department under the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, is saddled with the responsibility of verifying weights or measures instruments used for trade in Nigeria. Speaking with members of Commerce and Industry Correspondent Association of Nigeria, SICAN, in Abuja, Sidi said the department can drive itself effectively and contribute meaningfully into the country's economy given the necessary attention by the government. Sidi explained that the department will need at least 1 billion naira allocation from the government and possible retention of a percentage of its generated revenue to effectively carry out its mandate.
This bill is meant to go from where we are today to solicit for the government to establish a higher and more efficient institution for it to get the benefits we are actually talking about today. That is the aim of this bill. But actually the act exists. But it has not been reviewed for a very long time. That is why the section I quoted for you now, which deals with the penalties for those or anybody who happens to violate the provisions of this law. Okay. It's section 49, that is the section 49 of this act. Article 49, that is penalties. Any person guilty of an offense under any provision of this act shall, unless otherwise prescribed, be liable on conviction. Anybody convicted, they said A, in the case of an individual, he should pay a fine of 500 naira or imprisonment for 1 year or both such fine and imprisonment. In the case of a corporate body, a company registered with the CAC, no matter this, if it's bound to be offensive, it's 5,000 naira fine. So you can see the penalties are not in tune with the present economic reality of the country. And this is part of our advocacy for the National Assembly to come back and look at this thing and make sure, because it is only the National Assembly that can change these figures.
Sidi, while advocating for the review of the Act establishing the department, said the existing Act is no longer tenable to meet up with the present reality.
The Weights and Measures Department really, in the actual sense of it, if it is working to its capacity, has no business going to the National Assembly to ask for budget provision. We don't need it. Weights and Measures Department can derive itself effectively and provide all what it's required to provide, and even give certain amount to the federal government as a support. So you can see, by the way we are ever running this department, this country, to me, from my understanding of what is happening in other countries, we are underutilizing this sector. I had an occasion when I gave a projection of what this department is capable of generating per annum, and I stood at 5 billion naira per annum. And I believe in it, and I can confirm and even undertake to provide that amount per annum, provided that certain provisions have to be provided for this department.
The director, however, disclosed that the department generated over 500 million naira in 2018 despite its present challenges. Osam Raffle, Ben Television.
Lawmaker representing Zamfara Central in the Senate, Kabir Marafa, says INEC position on the conflicting court judgment on APC primary will determine its next line of action. Senator Marafa said this at a press conference in Abuja. He noted that while the state high court in Gusau ruled that primary held in Zamfara state, the federal high court in Abuja gave contrary verdict supporting the position of INEC and that of the APC that there was neither primary conducted in the state nor a consensus candidate.
Do you think it is possible? An INEC that is being headed by the kind of person that you know is the chairman of INEC, they would now come out and say that, no, we are wrong. We will abide by the judgment procured somewhere from black market. That one is even worse than black market. I have never seen a bad judgment like that one. A judgment that a judge will deliver when the person that is constitutionally empowered to carry out something says that I didn't do it.
Senator Marafa also vowed to expose politicians behind the crisis troubling Zamfara state. Marafa, however, insisted that despite the crisis rocking the APC in Zamfara, President Muhammadu Buhari will emerge victorious at the February 16 election.
President Buhari has broken almost so many barriers, all the barriers. Before, it was the governors that makes the president. Today, the president doesn't need the governors. They need him instead. They need him to win. So the president is going to win Zamfara better without Yari. It is Yari that needs the president. And this is a president that is not afraid to say it the way it is. I believe this president would stand by the truth. He is pained by what is happening in Zamfara.
In defense of the federal government decision on the suspension of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onoge, Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has said that the government follow due process in line with the Constitution. Speaking at the press conference in Abuja, Minister affirmed that the president is a Democrat, dismissing the initiation of tyranny and dictatorship. He noted that the allegation against Justice Onege goes beyond professional misconduct, adding that Code of Conduct Tribunal, CCT, is the only body statutorily empowered to deal with such offense. The minister said Justice Onege himself, in a previous ruling, has given CCT the exclusive mandate to deal on such matter, such as the breach of the Code of Conduct for public officers.
The NJC is there to deal with issues of professional misconduct. This is not professional misconduct, therefore it's not within the purview of the NJC. Two, have quoted relevant cases decided by the suspended CJN himself. And he himself said two things. One, that the Court of Conduct Tribunal has exclusive jurisdiction. He also said that he can hand over any punishment. So I don't see how you can fault my argument. And as for the issue of, I said that it's a first CGN has been given, he was given opportunity to defend himself. That was why he was given the charges against him, and in writing, he put there that it was a mistake. And I remember again, even when Mr. President was addressing on Friday, he said subsequently, several millions of dollars, again, was traced to the account of the suspended CGN. Now, so whether you are talking about procedure, you are talking about substance, the federal government, on all accounts, has done the right thing.